Greetings, Joe. We hope you and your loved ones are doing well during these difficult times. We chose this format as we didn't want to miss the opportunity to present you with our findings and the proposed solutions to help your team become cohesive and effective. Our group is diverse with the strengths in different backgrounds, allowing us to evaluate your team from different perspectives. Today, I am joined by Corey Young, Jacoby Ertman, Riley Archibald, and Sitara Federico. We began this journey with you a few weeks ago with our first interview, followed by a questionnaire that helped us evaluate your team in 5 different areas: trust, conflict, commitment, accountability, and results. Then we tallied the results and discussed them with our team and determined that the forest group displays weaknesses in all areas, specifically trust, conflict, and accountability. In this presentation, we will discuss each of these areas, our findings, and provide you with an action plan. The team members of the forest group should have a foundation of vulnerability-based trust that will foster connection, allow for productive conflict, open communication, and peer-to-peer accountability. The forest group is composed of a competent staff with a wealth of experience. However, absence of trust, avoidance of conflict, and lack of accountability from both leadership and peers is negatively impacting productivity and has contributed to a 10% decrease in revenue compared to the prior year. We propose a solution that focuses on establishing a psychologically safe team culture. The executive team will participate in frequent team building activities to foster vulnerability-based trust. Rules of engagement will be established by the team in regards to productive conflict and communication that are focused on the issues. Throughout the presentation, we will provide a detailed action plan for you and for the executive team, as well as a timeline. I would like to introduce you to Corey Young, who will talk to us about trust.
Hey, Joe. Team members who are not genuinely open with one another about their mistakes and weaknesses make it impossible to build a foundation of trust. Trust is the first principle that we want to focus on with you, Joe, and your team, because it is the foundation of any team. Because relationships are at the core of teamwork, it is essential that team members strive to have an in-depth understanding of one another and work to facilitate a psychologically safe environment where trust can thrive. Joe, through the survey and through our interview with you, we uncovered many areas on your team where there's a lack of trust, and this is ultimately creating a psychologically unsafe environment. Some members of your team, specifically Jim, seem to be looking out for themselves and not the team. This stands out in his big personality in meetings when he sometimes takes over, and he can be quite critical of his teammates and you yourself. We also realize that many members of your team don't feel comfortable to speak up in meetings, and the meetings seem to be dominated by the bigger personalities. In our meeting with you, you pointed out many relationships on your team where there seems to be grudges being held, or backdoor politics, or meetings after the meetings. These all negatively impact trust and make people back into their own individual corners. Through our proposed solution, Joe, we believe that we can get your team to really begin to trust each other and come together. Through our action plans, your team will begin to be more open about their mistakes and shortcomings. Your team will be willing to ask for help. Even the veterans on your team who've worked there for a long time will be more willing to reach out for support and help. When there is conflict on your team and feelings are hurt, a trusting team and your team through our action plan will begin to be more open to apologies and relationship repair. Ultimately, your team will begin to make healthy assumptions that everyone is trying their best.
When team members openly and passionately share their opinions about a decision, they do not wonder whether anyone is holding back. Then, when the leader must step in and make a decision, because there is no easy consensus, team members will accept that decision because they know that their ideas were heard and considered. Consensus in teams inhibits discussion by causing the group to think alike, which ultimately ends up in bad business decisions. Teams that engage in healthy conflict can have lively and engaging meetings to extract each other information and ideas to solve problems quickly. Because conflict can feel uncomfortable, it is essential that teams have trust in one another. After hearing about your team, we feel that unhealthy conflict presents itself in your team through boring meetings, back-channel politics, personal attacks, lack of collaboration, and a lack of focus on the big issues. As Corey mentioned previously, for example, when Jim constantly voices his opinion, he overpowers others that may have a better idea. We will help you build a team that works to build trust, focuses on important issues and not personalities, and encourages diversity of opinion.
A team that holds one another accountable identifies potential problems by questioning one another's approaches without hesitation. A team with healthy accountability is going to have overall better performance, and it's going to help motivate team members to achieve goals. Teams that are able to accomplish peer-to-peer accountability successfully achieve the nirvana of teamwork. Teams that hold one another accountable produce more efficient results with respecting to timeframes or deadlines. Trust and open communication are key factors when establishing accountability on teams. When we were reviewing our notes from our meeting and the survey that was completed, we were able to see that Jim in particular, you had mentioned that he was working on a project that should have taken 1 to 3 weeks, but it was taking 6 weeks. And when we were asked what was being done in regards to that, there wasn't any accountability. And another thing we noticed from the survey was that the team members are feeling like people aren't being held to the same standards. There's not a uniform way that people are being treated and accountability is being held. So with our solutions that we're going to propose throughout this presentation, it's going to help your team create healthy accountability. And a team with healthy accountability is where teammates provide other teammates with feedback, whether it be good or bad. It uses peer pressure as a tool successfully. It helps provide results, team members to provide results within deadlines or timeframes that are given. And each team member is going to hold each member accountable for their behavior and their results.
As a leader, you want to personally create connections with those you lead. Connection leads to greater trust, empathy, and loyalty between you and those you lead. Connection is the foundation and fabric of effective leadership. Serving your team puts into motion real changes to the team and organization you lead. The following steps is a practical approach with simple yet powerful tools and practices to become a care to lead leader. These long-term strategies will ensure success in building valued relationships and an effective team. These steps and practices will create openness and connection, which is the foundation of trust and essential to building an effective team. One-on-one meetings are opportunities for you, Joe, to build a connection with each member of your team. While holding weekly team meetings, quarterly meetings, annual meetings are all opportunities for you to build it with your team as a whole, as well as your team members to build that relationship with each other. But mean it. Set expectations around the meeting attendance, the priority it holds, and use calendar invites to make sure nobody misses it. Take the time to define and identify your first team so that they understand that they are the most important team within the company and that their teams follow next. And then find opportunities to serve and nurture your team. Ask questions. Ask how you can help or how you can support them. But then also listen. Your team members will give you clues and hints as to opportunities or ways that they need help without coming right out and asking for help. Utilize mentoring as a tool. Maybe take the time to bring Mark under your wing and show him the ropes. or have him partner up with Jim so that he can learn from Jim and all his years of experience in the insurance industry. Next, take the opportunity to hit the reset button. Wipe the slate clean. Sit down with your team and apologize. Let them know there were things that weren't done right, could have been done better, and you apologize for that, and that you want to be held to a higher standard. In turn, you're going to hold them to a higher standard, but ask them to call you out if you make a mistake or you don't fulfill that obligation that you have made. If you haven't met your deadline or you've not held up your end of the bargain, but do the same for them and expect the same for them amongst each other.
Okay, Joe. Now we have an action plan for the executive team. This action plan is created to create buy-in through trust and accountability. Like we mentioned, trust is the foundation of any team. And trust is built from relationships. And while many people on your team have relationships, and you mentioned, they go to baseball games together, they spend time with each other outside of work at times, we feel that the relationships on your team are quite surface level. To help with that, we want each member of your team to complete a Myers-Briggs assessment and to review and understand the assessment results as a team. The Myers-Briggs assessment is a personality assessment. So this is going to take the relationships on your team from a surface level to a psychological level and an emotional level. So the big personalities of your team, you're going to have a little bit more understanding of where they're coming from. The people on your team are a little more quiet and reserved. You're going to understand their personality a little bit better, and you're going to be able to understand how you can meet their needs and how you can train and develop them with their personality type. Moving on, we also really want to emphasize team building exercises. The team building exercise that we'll emphasize right now is personal histories exercise. This will be conducted at the beginning of every meeting. The reason for this is to build deeper, more vulnerable relationships. So what is the personal histories exercise? Each member of your team will share individually an experience that happened in their life that was hard, challenging, scary, joyful, that has shaped who they are today. And why is this so important for your team, Joe? This is at the beginning of meetings. This is going to establish vulnerability. It's going to create a psychologically safe environment where people understand one another. And members of your team who are a little bit more quiet are going to be more willing to collaborate and engage. Next, we feel that there's a lack of structure and a lack of accountability on your team. And to help with that, we would like for you to create thematic goals with your team. The key is with your team, Joe. Right now, you are creating the goals and you are presenting those to your team and expecting buy-in. There's not enough collaboration in that process. So we expect for you to approach your team and collectively set goals and make sure those goals are focused on the most important issues. This is going to focus your team meetings, and it's going to allow you guys to be more productive and more effective. Second to last is establishing a performance evaluation process. Joe, you emphasize that this is a family business, but from a lot of the information you've given us, there seems to be more of an emphasis on family and not on the business. You've expressed frustration with members of your team who you feel got their position because of who their dad is, or who their family members are. You feel like there's a lack of accountability on members of your team who have been at the company for 20 plus years and they're not producing the results that they should be. This suggests a lack of accountability, and to help with that, we expect for you to conduct 6-month and yearly evaluations. This will allow you to hold individuals of your team accountable, set goals with them, and evaluate their performance. The last thing we want to focus on, Joe, is establishing and adhering to team norms. Team norms are expectations that your team will commit to in their interactions and in their meetings. And to talk a little bit more about this is Satara.
These are some ideas for team norms. Treating each other with kindness and respect, listening to understand first, openly admitting mistakes, providing honest and direct feedback, being genuine and open about ideas, respectfully challenging someone if you don't agree, and supporting each other. And the reason for team norms are going to create a healthy condition for conflict, trust, communication, and commitment. It's going to help provide the psychologically safe work environment, which is going to allow team members to feel safe in what their thoughts or ideas are, that they're not going to be judged for those. So that is team norms.
This timeline provides you with a schedule broken down by weeks and months to ensure you are keeping your company on track toward building a thriving team. During weeks 1 and 2, you should hold one-on-one meetings with each executive team member and plan your first offsite. During weeks 3 and 4, you should establish team norms, hold your first offsite meeting, and complete the listed assessments. In months 2 through 6, you will be evaluating the assessments as well as planning the next 3 quarters offsite meetings. Through the end of the year, you should be reviewing progress made, developing a feedback system, and evaluating your team according to that feedback system.
So we wanted to come back, Joe, to the one-on-one meeting format and give you some suggestions and ideas, talking points for your one-on-one meetings. One of the things you mentioned is you're not sure what some of your team members do. Well, learn what their roles are and understand what their responsibilities are on a daily basis, weekly basis, and monthly basis. Also take the time to understand what are their challenges, what are their struggles and their needs. Are they for them personally, individually, or are they within their team, or both? Discuss the strengths that these individuals bring to the team. Let them know what you appreciate and what things that really help the team as a whole because of them. But then also be sure to bring up any weaknesses or areas for improvement. We all know that we're not perfect, and we all have areas that we can work on to be better at. And everybody appreciates hearing that feedback in ways that they can improve. But then take the time to ask, how can I support you? How can I help you? What can I do better as your leader? What can I do better for you? So that you know how they need you to lead them and how they need you to be part of the team as well. And then find opportunities to serve your staff. Ask questions, listen, whether it's projects that need to be helped on, or maybe it's just a personal problem they need to vent or need some time off from work, but understand the circumstances around that and be part of that leadership, but also be that friend that they need. We recommend that these team meetings are happening, these one-on-one meetings are happening on a weekly basis for the first 4 to 6 weeks so that you can build that connection. It's going to take some time. And then you can progress to bi-weekly and monthly meetings as things continue to improve and go forward. But we know that this, is really a great tool for you to build that connection, build that bond with your team that's going to really improve overall communications, connection, and the effectiveness of you as a leader as well as your team and their roles and their leadership. We'd also, because our information is based in a couple of books, we'd also suggest that you take the time to read these books. The first one being The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. And then another author we'd like to share with you, Michael G. Rogers. He's got 2 books that we'd suggest. Do You Care to Lead? And also You Are the Team. And this would just be some great additional information, sources that you could go to for ideas and suggestions on ways to improve, build connection, and establish that harmony within your team.
Joe, as you can see, our consulting group analyzed all the information from the interview that we had with you, from the survey that we did with your executive team, and we created not only a solution, but an action plan. In conclusion, by changing the culture and environment within the executive leadership team, the Forest Group will see improved attitudes as team members willingly open up while building trust with one another. Harmony and collaboration will flourish, and passionate debate and healthy conflict will lead you into innovative ideas. Productivity will increase dramatically as team members weigh in and commit, providing unfailing buy-in to the overall team goal as peer-to-peer accountability becomes a new normal. The collective team results will lead to an increase in the profitability and team of cohesiveness of the Forest Group. Yes, you have some challenging times, but I think that we have been able to provide you with some effective tools to create that cohesive group, to create an effective team, and for you to achieve your goals. On behalf of all the team members of Team D, we appreciate the opportunity for us to consult with you, and we're here for you anytime you need us.